So it's always difficult to predict new constituencies in an election because you do not have the historical track record to use in your analysis. But today we are attempting to do just that here in the Ablekuma West constituency, which is occupied by Mrs. Ursula Owusu on Politicos on Citi TV with me, Umaru Sanda Amadu. So the curious case with Ablekuma West is that it has a twin constituency, Ablekuma North. These are two constituencies that belong to the NPP. On the other side, we have Ablekuma South and Central. These also belong to the NDC. So Ablekuma is fairly and evenly distributed among the two major political parties. Today, we are interviewing the woman who is leading the charge for the NPP in Ablekuma West, Mrs. Ursula Owusu. You're welcome to Politicos.
Thank you, Umaru.
How is Ablekuma West doing?
We're doing great. We're still doing on our rounds and having a wonderful interaction with the people as usual. So we're doing fine.
4 years you've been a member of parliament. You want more?
Of course. You barely scratched the surface. There's still a lot more work to do. And being a new constituency, there are holdover challenges from when it was part of Ablekuma South. And I seem to be enjoying the work. Sometimes I wonder why, because it is a very, very stressful job. But I love the interaction with the people. I love the feedback I'm getting, both positive and the few negatives. I especially love interacting with the young people, the kids. And somebody was telling me that I don't know why I seem to be a magnet for young people, because everywhere we go, they just drop whatever they're doing and follow us around. And it's a challenge, because they're looking up to you as a role model. So you have to do things which would attract and retain them in politics. So we'll see.
I see. But what exactly is the work when you say you enjoy doing the work in Parliament? What is the work of a member of Parliament that you think you need to go back and continue?
There are 275 members of Parliament. Only 30 of us are women. And of the 30 women in Parliament, I think I'm one of the hardworking ones in terms of not letting the side down and letting the whole world see that we can be as effective, if not more effective, than our male colleagues. The work involves a lot of advocacy on the floor of the House. It involves crafting the legislation. It involves asking questions of the ministers of state and other government functionaries through their ministers, putting the concerns of the electorate before them. We should also be doing a lot more of the oversight than I think we're doing. And I actually wrote my dissertation on legislative oversight using the Defense and Interior Committee as a case study. And the findings were interesting, but it cuts across every other committee in Parliament. I think we can be more effective at holding the government to account, particularly financial oversight. We could do better than we're doing. And so when you look from the academic side, I see Parliament as a very interesting organ of state. And I think that it's the weakest of the three organs of state. I would really love to do more to strengthen Parliament as an institution. And you can effect real change from inside. That's why I want to go back. Every change of government, you would have the executive being retained in some form or the other. The judiciary continues. But the one institution which is closed down, abrogated, it completely is the legislature. Parliament ceases to exist when there are unconstitutional changes of government. And so over the years, the executive and legislature have been able to develop as institutions, but Parliament is weak. Our structures are not there. We lack the personnel. We lack the capacity building for even the personnel. We lack the resources, and that's one thing that I think we are doing ourselves a disservice. We hold the power of the purse. We have to approve the budget before any other institution of state can get the resources to work with. But doing that, we don't insist that Parliament as an institution should be properly resourced. And so But that will be the subject of another conversation.
Well, so you mentioned there that you are only 30 members of parliament who are women. You have been someone who has been in advocacy, and now you have got the opportunity to be a member of parliament, and you have said that you take on people who have brought their issues to parliament. You do the scrutiny. This can be described as courage, because it takes a lot of courage for you to show your face. Has this courage been interpreted to mean arrogance ever before?
Oh, all the time. And I think if you are an outspoken, assertive, articulate woman in this country, you are at a disadvantage, because all those traits which are admirable in everyone else is seen as arrogance in a woman. And I don't understand why. Self-confidence is not arrogance. Being self-assured doesn't mean you're full of yourself. No. You know, you're modest enough to know what your own capabilities are. You play up your strengths and not downplay, but, well, try to resolve the weaknesses that you have. But you have a fair capacity, a fair idea of your own total capacity. And that's what I try to do. I was raised to express my opinion. I'm from a family of assertive, hardworking women. And I was fortunate to be trained by Kufuado in advocacy. And he always encourages us to speak your mind. You can only, if you're wrong, you can only be corrected. If you're right, you help everybody else. But if you keep it and you're wrong, you cannot be corrected. So let us know what you're thinking.
But this leads to the tag of Ursula Owusu being arrogant, and that's what is said by your critics and your opponents. Does this not affect your votes, that you have been tagged an arrogant woman?
I think I'm in good company. Every woman in leadership in this country is tagged as arrogant, because the society itself sees that we're not supposed to be where we are, and we're there on sufferance. And so they're doing us a favor by allowing us the space to perform. But you just try as much as possible in your interactions with people to let them know that what you see is what you get. I will continue to speak my mind. And I say I'm an honest politician. There aren't too many of us around. And that doesn't endear us to people. And so I'll say it as it is. Not everybody will like it. But at the end of the day, I sleep with a clear conscience. And I think that by and large, the genuineness with which one does one's work comes across in our interactions with people. So even though people would want to tag you negatively as being arrogant, in the daily interactions that you have with people, people will say, is this how you are? And they say you're arrogant. And I say, yeah, what you see is what you get. It's not arrogance. I speak my mind. And I think we need a lot more people who will say it as it is in this country.
Mrs. Ursula Owusu is my guest here on Politicos. She is the NPP Member of Parliament for Ablekuma West. She's seeking a second term in office. My name is Umaru Sanda Amadu, and this is Citi TV. We are coming to you live from Dansoman, the headquarters of Ablekuma West. So let's go back to the race to Parliament now. And even before that, your constituency went through a tortuous journey before you were elected as NPP parliamentary candidate. A number of times the elections had to be postponed, and the view was that someone wanted their girl to become the Member of Parliament for this area. And this is an accusation against your flag bearer, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, that you were highly favored, and so you must win the race at all costs. Subsequent to that, your former constituency chairman has deserted you and has become a formidable force that you're having to contest in this constituency. A huge challenge, isn't it?
A minor irritation. I don't see it as a huge challenge. It would have made the race easier if I didn't have an independent candidate to contend with. But iron sharpens iron, and gold to be refined has to go through the fire. So I think that even the process is going to make us better people. We had a difficult primaries, but long before the primaries, this same gentleman had created the conditions for us to have the difficult primaries that we went through. Now, I'd interest your viewers to know that the album that he compiled as an ex-officio member of the constituency executive, the MP should have been in there, but they deliberately excluded my name from the album that they compiled, which made I and the others who were also excluded found themselves in court and got an injunction to restrain the holding of our primaries. And so most of the other primaries were held in June 2018. we're in 2016, 2015. Ours was held in April 2016 because of the challenge. But it's water under the bridge. I think the vast majority of the electorate in this country are satisfied with my performance both as MP. So it is not just Nana Akufo-Addo who wanted Ursula to be retained in Parliament. But I think they appreciate quality when they see it, and they appreciate the contribution that I'm making, not just in Parliament, but to the NPP effort generally, in the constituency and in the country, and would like me to remain in frontline politics. He shares that opinion with the majority of the people in this constituency. Unfortunately, you can't win them all, so you're bound to face some opposition at some stage, and this gentleman has set himself up against us. I think that he could have been a good material, but he shot himself in the foot by not listening to the advice of others. And they give him the examples of those who contested keenly with Nana Akufo-Addo and across the length and breadth of the country. You don't say you didn't get the result you want, and so you are going to go against your party. That's not the sign of a true blue MPP member. So they say the proof of the pudding is in the eating.
Did Nana Akufo-Addo support you in the primaries?
I don't know what you mean by support, but I know that I had his encouragement.
Did he want you, but none other, to become the
I think you'll have to ask him that. I can't say. He was for a fair contest, which will enable everyone to also know that at the end of the day, we went through the process and the best person won. And so I went through the contest. This gentleman was even disqualified because he refused to go through the vetting. And the same process by which he became constituency chairman was the same process by which the party resolved this issue. And yet when it was to his advantage in terms of him becoming constituency chairman through the creation of a special electoral college comprising all the disaffected people in the constituency, 2 albums, if you want to put it that way. That's how he became constituency chairman. When he was the beneficiary, it was fine. You can't approbate and reprobate. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
So he's today outside the party. That's one number down, and politics is a game of numbers. Is Ursula Owusu Ekufo intolerant, driving away party members?
Goodness. I don't even have the capacity to drive anybody else.
You do not have your former chairman
I don't.
in your campaign?
Well, unfortunately, nobody actually fills in an application to join a political party. It is a voluntary choice, and nobody can be compelled to remain in a political party if they choose not to. So he chose to join the NPP today. He chooses to leave the NPP. That's his choice, and that's also fine. But it was certainly not as a result of any action that Ursula took. No, I can't be responsible for that.
That's fine. So who are you scared of the more? Is it this independent candidate from the NPP, or is Dynamic Diana the NDC's parliamentary candidate?
None of them.
You're not afraid?
No.
She said, and I'm going to read for you a story from Daily Graphic. It says, Ablekuma West NDC parliamentary aspirant vows to unseat Ursula Owusu, and she talks about registering over 1,500 kids in the locality onto the National Health Insurance Scheme. She has instituted over 100 girls into the Indomie catering job and mobilized funds for the rehabilitation of major roads in the constituency. And this is Dynamic Diana. She's the NDC parliamentary candidate here. Mrs. Diana Chum is her real name.
Well, Dynamic Diana Chum is DDT, and that's a poison. And we're clear in our minds that we're not going to take in any poison to destroy our constituency. So I don't know who advised her to take that suffix or acronym, but that's the way it translates to.
But that's sloganeerism. How about the reality of what she's talking about?
I'm moving there. Unfortunately, she says she's registered 1,500. I've registered over 4,500 onto the health insurance scheme. I have done significant work in the constituency. 15,000 exercise books for the students in the various schools, 600 dual desks for the students in our various schools. When I came, some were sitting on the floor. I have worked and lobbied to ensure that we have 4 millennium schools in this constituency when some constituencies don't have any. The polyclinic, which is just down the road, you go there and take a look at it. The structures you see there are being supported by Ursula. It got burnt. We assisted them to rewire the place and redo the ceiling so they could offer night services. We have worked in this constituency. She has resurfaced a few roads. I have worked to resurface a lot more roads in this constituency. I've lobbied for Glefe roads to be fixed. It used to be a lake. The children there had to wear Wellington boots to get to and from their homes during the rainy season. Now it's been tarred. The gutters have been done. Politicos roads are being done. Zone 6, the roads are being fixed. The gutters are being fixed.
They are all being
How
fixed
do you
by
compare?
John Dramani Mahama. So GM
Oh, really?
Is his government?
Oh, really?
Or you did the
By
fixing?
the government of the Republic of Ghana,
Led by John
which is
Mahama,
currently
the
led
NDC.
by him. And it is through no, it is not out of charity that he's there. We elected him to work for the people. We pay for everything that he's doing. The loans that he's contracted are not going to be paid for by the NDC alone. Every single Ghanaian is going to pay for those loans. Let me just land on that.
If it's fair for Ursula to be re-elected to Parliament because of massive projects in Dansoman, then it is equally fair for John Mahama to be re-elected to the Flagstaff House due to massive infrastructure
Unfortunately,
in Dansoman.
Ursula isn't tainted with the specter of corruption or incompetence. I haven't ruined the economy of Ablekuma West by being in power. He has ruined the Ghanaian economy
by constructing roads in your constituency.
Nope. By the overinflated contracts that he's undertaken.
Do you have
And
one in
so
your constituency you can point to?
I'm not aware, and I cannot point to
So
in
you
my
cannot make a
constituency.
claim?
Oh, I can make a claim. The overinflated contracts have landed us in this situation. So you are comparing apples and oranges. The excessive corruption, the incompetence, the ruined economy, everywhere you go.
But you can't point
People
to
will
even
tell
one
you.
to me. These things you're talking about, but you could point to infrastructure development in your own constituency, your own
If
backyard.
you want us to go down there, I can give you a tall list of overinflated
I've
contracts.
asked you about one project
Starting-
in your constituency. You haven't mentioned one.
We're talking about the nation generally now, not
So
just
there's not a
narrowing. We're talking
single-
about John Dramani Mahama, who is not just superintending of Ablekuma West. You want to talk about Ablekuma West? We'll talk about Ablekuma West.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ursula Owusu Ekufo.
You're most welcome.
Well, that's all for this weekend's edition of Politicos here on Citi TV. We have been coming to you from the Ablekuma West constituency of the Greater Accra region with our guest, Mrs. Ursula Owusu Ekufo. My name is Umaru Sanda Amadu. Do join us same time next week on Citi TV with Politicos.